Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a little bit of a look at the best new decks that have come around in Battle Styles. You see, ladies and gentlemen, Battle Styles is now out. Battle Styles is now very much a thing. So it's brought in a bunch of new decks, and I think there are 4 new decks which are especially noteworthy. Now, it's interesting to note that 2 of these are basically already proving themselves to be absolutely flat-out brilliant, over-the-top, nuts-good decks, and the other 2 have a huge amount of potential, but have maybe not quite made the leap yet. Let me explain. So we're going to be starting off today with, as far as I'm concerned, the most exciting cards, the best cards as far as I'm concerned, that came around in Battle Styles, and that is Victini V Max. For what it's worth, there was a Victini V in Battle Styles as well, but I really do think the one from Sword and Shield is the better one, and if you start going and looking at deck lists, you will find that that is the general consensus. So maybe stick with that Victini for the time being. Victini V Max is really rather straightforward. Essentially, for 2 energy, and yes, Welder is still a thing, you get to do 220 damage to a Pokemon V. So if you go first, you attach, and then turn 2 your Victini, attach and go. And then you're KOing any Pokemon V. And going first really is the way to go, because it means you get the first evolution. So it means that if you've got Victini V Max, your opponent will not have been able to evolve their Pokemon V. That will not have been possible. So you can get a KO on basically any of them. And this is ridiculous. It is turn 2 KO on any Pokemon V. If your opponent's only playing a Pokemon V deck, this is basically it. Now, against VMAXs and tag teams, things get a little more awkward, but that's where the partners for Victini come in. Now, if we have a look at the list, and there was a big tournament that happened last weekend over in Taiwan, and that was a tournament where Victini really started showing up. And if we take a look at the partners, it's basically fire stuff. So one of the best partners we've got here is Heatran GX. Now Heatran GX does 2 things absolutely beautifully. Number 1, it's got an attack for free energy that does 130 and it's a 2 prize Pokemon. So against single prize Pokemon, Heatran is generally a better option than Victini, because Victini's hitting 100 damage and gives up 3 prizes. This is hitting 130 and gives up 2. So if you're trying to run through single prize Pokemon, Heatran is oftentimes the way to go. But it's also got that GX attack that does 50 damage for each fire energy attached to it. So if you do just need one really big KO, Heatran is very, very much the way to go. Now, obviously, Reshiram and Charizard is a great option here as well. Free energy, 200, 4 energy, 230. It's got the Outrage attack and 6 energy, 300, go through anything. It's a fire Pokemon that sees play in basically all the fire decks, of course it's awesome. And if we're playing around with some fire GXs, maybe we should probably have a little bit of a play with Mewtwo and Mew GX as well. It gives you a different weakness while hitting a different weakness. That sounds good to me. Obviously, a great non-GX option here is Volcanion. It accelerates energy while having a 2 energy 110, which isn't enough to KO all the single prize Pokemon. That's where Heatran comes in a lot more. But if you can get KOs with Volcanion, that's clearly awesome. And then I would always recommend Talonflame, because Talonflame is amazing. It's got an attack. If you go first, you get to discard your hand and draw 6 cards, which is clearly brilliant. And it's also got a free energy attack that does 160, and it has free retreat, so there's a lot to like about Talonflame. A lot of the decks you're going to see really are just Victini V Max, because it runs through Pokemon V, with a few support Pokemon to essentially help make up for its weaknesses. Victini is amazing against Pokemon V, but against single prize Pokemon, VMAXs, and tag teams, it's not quite so good. Of course, when we hit rotation, GXs get a lot worse, Vs get a lot better, because GXs go away, and at that point, Victini should actually get a lot better. But probably at the moment, although this is still very early, the best new deck from Battle Styles is Rapid Strike Urshifu. Now, I've been on Rapid Strike Urshifu since the start. I am a big fan of, well, Rapid Strike generally, but Rapid Strike Urshifu really is a redonkulous card. Now, Rapid Strike Urshifu V is fine but uninspiring. Obviously Rapid Strike Energy is huge here, right? So I like the fact that if you attach turn 1 and 2, and one of them is a Rapid Strike Energy, and you don't get the V Max, you can hit 150. That is quite nice, but that is about the best I can say about it. What is really cool here is the V Max. It is amazing. 1 energy, 150 damage if you were on the bench and became active this turn. Remember that evolving your active does not count. That is big. But 3 energy, you've got to discard them all, and it does 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, benched or otherwise. That means you can KO a Dedenne or a Crobat in the active for 2 prizes, while also doing 120 to one of your opponent's bench. If you go first with Urshifu, and Urshifu really wants to go first as far as I'm concerned, if you go first with Urshifu, as long as you can hit Rapid Strike Energy and the VMAX by turn 2, you will be hitting 120 to 2 Pokemon. And you have to discard all the energy, but next turn you attach a single fighting energy, and then you're just hitting for 150 again anyway, so it really doesn't matter. Bearing in mind you've got all stuff like Martial Arts Dojo to do extra damage if you're behind on prizes. It's nuts. Basically, and this is probably a topic we're going to hit over the next couple of weeks at some point, you have got to play Mew now. Like, if you don't play Mew in your deck and you come against a Rapid Strike Urshifu V Max, you're probably going to lose. What are you going to do? What are you going to do if you don't have a Mew? If you're playing an evolving deck, well, you put 2 basics down, they can both be KO'd by Urshifu. If you're playing support Pokemon like Jirachi or Chinchino, they will be KO'd by Urshifu. 2 of them. Which means not only are you giving up a couple of prizes, but you're also losing your support structure. And because it can hit the active or the bench, you can't even do that thing where you leave a Pokemon in the active knowing your opponent's got to hit the bench. Because there are plenty of Pokemon in the past that could only hit the bench. That was a viable tactic. That doesn't work anymore, ladies and gentlemen. This is a really, really strong card. And you've got all kinds of that new stuff like Octillery that will help you search stuff out to give you a little bit of extra consistency, although not all the lists I'm seeing here actually do play Octillery. There was a list that got 9th place in Taiwan that didn't actually play Octillery at all. Did play Empoleon that blocks basic Pokemon without a rule box from using abilities, which also seems like an extremely strong way about going and playing this deck. But honestly, for me, it really is all about Urshifu. The fact that you've got a really good single energy attack, 150 is not to be sniffed at, especially considering you're hitting one of the best weaknesses in the game. Maybe the best weakness in the game to be hitting right now. And you then add another energy attachment. Okay, it's a Rapid Strike Energy, but still. And you get to do 120 to 2 Pokemon. If you play against this deck and you don't have a Mew, or your Mew is prized, or you can't get it fast enough, that is a problem. And one of the other things to bear in mind, if you're playing against this, you have got to dig for that Mew early, even over some other Pokemon that you really want to search out, because if you don't have Mew on the bench, you're probably going to lose. Now, Single Strike Urshifu has not yet proven to be quite as good, not in countries like Japan and Taiwan where it is out and legal for play. But I don't think it should be slept on. Now, here I really do like the V, because for 1 energy you search your deck for 2 fighting energy and attach them, so it basically means that on turn 2, you are going to be ready to go. Although obviously you can't use this turn 1 going first, so it is a turn slower than Rapid Strike. Which it probably should, because, you know, Rapid Strike. But then when you get to the Single Strike, 3 energy 100 is fine, 4 energy 270, discard all energy, and it goes through any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon. And this is Single Strike by name and Single Strike by nature, because once you've used this one big attack, you're going to be building up from there. And there really isn't a good single energy attack on Single Strike Urshifu, which is a bit sad, but you've got the V here, which does 180 for free energy, which is not to be sniffed at. And then, of course, you've got all of the other stuff. You've got Houndoom to accelerate single strike energy, which, well, it accelerates energy. It means that you actually can do this big attack, or these big attacks turn after turn after turn, even if you're losing the energy. You've got single strike energy, which lets you do an extra 20 damage when it's attached to a single strike Pokemon. So not only are you accelerating energy, but you're also able to do extra damage, which is absolutely huge. You've got single strike Scroll of Scorn, which is a bit of a mouthful, but for a single energy, it lets you deal 10 damage plus as much damage as is on you. So you know when I said you didn't have a good single energy option? Well, that was kind of a lie. And this can build up very quickly. It's not proven to be as good as Rapid Strike Urshifu yet. There are problems. It's maybe a tad slow. Once you use your big attack, you can sometimes peter out a little bit. But you've got huge damage potential, an amazing outrage attack, and that first attack on Urshifu V makes you hyper consistent. I think this is one you need to take rather seriously. Although, to be fair, like I've said, the early signs are, and they are still early signs, but the early signs are that Rapid Strike is a better option for now. And the last deck we need to talk about is Corviknight. Corviknight VMAX, I'll be perfectly honest with you, right? When I first saw Corviknight V and VMAX, I said it was basically like a rubbishier version of Zacian, and I wasn't particularly impressed. And at the time, that was true. But time gives a new perspective on things, ladies and gentlemen. I have had a good think about it, and I am more than willing at this stage to admit that I have underrated Corviknight. Although, to be fair, it's still not setting the world on fire in territories where it is legal. But essentially, what you've got here with Corviknight VMAX is 320 HP, which is huge, an ability that prevents all effective abilities done to it, and free retreat. Now, for free energy, you do 240 damage, and you can't use G-Max Hurricane next turn, but that's fine because you've got free retreat, so just retreat into another Pokemon. But hang on a second, Wassy. Are you really going to have all that energy on another Pokemon? Well, you can do the whole retreat and then switch thing. That is an option. Or you can use that new Bronzong. Because you see, the new Bronzong's got one of those abilities we've seen many times in the past, whereby you can just move energy of a particular type around the board. In this case, we're talking about metal energy. So what you do is you attack with Corviknight to do 240, free retreat, and then move the energy with Bronzong and you're back and rolling. So the whole not being able to attack next turn doesn't really count. And what we've got is 320 HP, doing 240 damage, and you are immune to abilities. Oh yeah, and Cheryl's probably one I should mention here as well. You see, Cheryl removes all damage from all damaged evolved Pokemon, and then discards all the energy from them. And discarding the energy is generally a bad thing, but the Bronzong-Cheryl combination is legit. Because what you essentially do is you move the energy to either an undamaged evolved Pokemon or to a basic Pokemon, either will do fine. Then you play Cheryl and you just heal, and then you move the energy back using Bronzong. And this does make Metal Saucer about a bazillion times better, because the big downside of Metal Saucer has always been that you cannot attach to the active. So you Metal Saucer, attach a metal energy from your discard pile to Bronzong, then you move it to your active, and oh look, now you're fine. And the thing is, you can play Zacian like this. You can play Zacian in a very similar way to this, because you use Metal Saucer, Bronzong, etc. to power up Zacian, hit for 230, switch to the bench or use an Air Balloon for free retreat, that would work. Although remember, if you're using Air Balloon, you're giving up Rusted Sword, you have been warned. And then move the energy to a new Zacian with Bronzong, and you're off. And let's be clear, right? You are definitely going to be playing Zacian if you're playing this deck, because it's a great option in terms of ability if you go first when you can't attack, so you might as well end your turn, and because any energy you get with Zacian's Intrepid Sword ability can then just be moved to your active using Bronzong. Yeah, it's like a permanent energy switch. It's brilliant. But the thing is that Cheryl and the extra HP makes all the difference. You are far less likely to be KO'd while also being able to heal up, and that's the big difference. Because time you had a rusted sword, Zacian's doing 260, Corviknight's doing 240, Zacian's actually doing more damage. But you've got an extra 100 HP and a way to completely heal, essentially with no downside if you're not one-hit KO'd. That's what makes Corviknight so gosh darned exciting. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. As far as I am concerned, those are the best new decks from Battle Styles. Those are the ones that I think you need to look out for the most. But I would very much like to know what you think about all of this, so let me know in the comment section. Get us, me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.